Do you think you have privilege over me?
Yes.
You're crazy.
Let her speak. Come on.
Shut up, boy. She's speaking.
It is not that I believe I'm better than you or that you are worse than me. I am not trying to punish anybody.
Did you study the economics and the educational? Did you study those? You see, he ran like a coward like they all do.
If I walk in front of a police officer right now and I pull out my phone, I'm likely to get shot. So are you.
Black Lives Matter, and a lot of these black leaders are teaching young black men how to get shot by being disrespectful, being mean, being hoodlum-like.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we are going to watch base black conservative Vince Ellison triggering some very sensitive students. It starts off with a speech, which we won't play, but I mean, really good speech. He gives it to these students between the eyes about living a life of love, virtue, and seeking wisdom, as opposed to victim narratives, oppression Olympics, and self-centeredness. So check out the full speech if you'd like to see it. But the question time that followed, which we will review, was outrageous. It highlights everything that is wrong with the modern liberal college student. And I mean, it's actually impressive how well they highlight it. We get triggered tears, needing of safe spaces. We get brazen entitlement, and even white savior liberals trying to explain to this black man how oppressed he is. So with that, there are also a lot of moments in this debate where I'm going to critique rhetoric and debate techniques. So stick around for it. I hope you do enjoy it. Let's get into it.
Hi, I would like to preface my question with a couple of words from a fellow American and a fellow Christian myself. So I would like to open with a verse from Leviticus 19, verse 15. It says, "You shall not do injustice in court. You shall not be partial to the poor or defer to the great, but in righteousness shall you judge your neighbor." And that, to me, relates to the institution of white privilege and what the liberalists claim that it is. It is not to put white people above. It is not to bring black people down. It is to judge what wrong has been done in the past by white people so we can learn from our mistakes and move forward in this country. And so I am going to be blunt, since you were advocating for violence, such as your example with hanging and Muhammad Ali. I just want to know, what is the point in spreading blatant lies as we referred to before, such as like the liberals were taking over the government to elect black or like liberals en masse. I mean, if you look at our Congress today, it is 70% white. I just want to know why.
Well, that's not a lie, because if you look at the black community, which is what I'm talking about, almost 100% of our representation are liberal. When you go to any city, any majority black district, the person that represents that area is a liberal. So when you're talking about a lie, you obviously don't know what you're talking about, because that's a fact. It's not a lie. Also, when you start talking about what white people have done to America, it's about what a white person has done. I don't believe in collective punishment. I'll make you responsible for what you did. I'm not going to hold you responsible for what somebody else did 100 years ago or what somebody else did today. I hold you responsible for your action. You hold me responsible for my action. In the same way that some white people believe that black people are lazy, shiftless, and ignorant and whatnot. That's not me. In the same way that most of y'all believe they're on their knees begging and slobbering and asking for reparations. That's not me. I don't believe in collective punishment. I deal with you as an individual. Individual. Therefore, white privilege is a lie. I've asked you very simply to show me the white person that has privilege over me. Nobody stood up. Do you think you have privilege over me?
Yes.
You're crazy. You're insane. You have no privilege over me. Let's make this absolutely positively clear. You have no privilege over me, and if you got it, show it to me right now.
My parents had generational wealth.
What's your privilege over me?
Exactly.
Well, you tell me.
Let her speak. Yeah, let her speak. Come on.
Shut up, boy. She's speaking.
Quick interruption, guys. If you don't mind smashing that like button, really does help me get this content out far and wide. And also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, if you get value from my commentary here, then I would really appreciate that. Back to the video.
My parents were able to own a house prior to 1960. Their parents were able to own a banking account. They were able to go directly to a bank. They were able to own a house. They were able to get a job, and all of that wealth accumulated through the generations onto my generation. So that is why I was able to. Yes.
You crazy. You're insane. Yeah, that's crazy. You don't have any privilege over me.
Speak. Stand and speak. Speak. I'm doing it evidence and do it. You speak. Okay?
Man, who are you?
Yeah. Sorry. I just get emotional.
You see a Christian? God is your strength. Speak.
Go ahead.
The fear of the Lord is your strength. Speak.
Yeah. I think you misunderstood me. I told you that I did not believe in white privilege as a punishment. I just meant it as an acknowledgement, as what crimes have done in the past. And then you came and attacked me for that. You are misconstruing what I am saying actively. It is not that I believe I'm better than you or that you are worse than me. I am not trying to punish anybody. I am acknowledging the system that exists.
Was there a question in that?
You don't need to cry.
I was responding to your statement that was untrue.
Which was?
You mentioned something about collective punishment.
Yeah.
I said nothing of the sort.
Okay, you're saying that your grandparents had privilege over me?
They had privilege over yours.
No, they didn't. You didn't know my
What?
parents. You didn't know my people, so you don't know that. There was a whole lot of people that were there. But right now, I'm talking about today. You see, again, listen. Hold it. Wait. Listen.
I'm done.
To what end is this? To make white people do what? I mean, what is the end game of this? To do what? To make white people say they have privilege, and to what end? I mean, what do you want? Oh, I'm asking you, what do you want? What's the end game here?
I'm saying that I don't think we understand the difference between privilege and supremacy, because that is kind of what we're talking about. But what white privilege is
Don't lecture me, young man. What is your question? What's your question?
Please go to the back if you have a question.
What is your question, please?
So guys, here we have a perfect example of a white liberal being caught in the wild. She decided that it would be a great idea to come up and lecture him about his oppression and tell him about the advantages that she has over him. But little did she know that Vince Allison was born on a cotton plantation.
I was born on a cotton plantation in Haywood County, Tennessee, back in 1963.
And his family managed to pull themselves out of poverty to the point where Vince is now a very accomplished man, a author, public speaker, very respected.
The only thing that kept me from being at the bottom, and my siblings at the bottom of every socioeconomic realm in the world, was that I had a father. And that man aspired.
And this does not happen in a systemically racist country where you're being constantly held down by the white man. So actually, he is a walking, talking billboard for why they are just completely wrong. But in terms of the debate itself, I have to be fair here and judge it objectively. Vince was cooking, talking about not believing in collective punishment, holding people responsible for their own actions and not the actions of others, and then asking her if she has privilege over him, to which she responded yes. At this moment, the battle is won. Your opponent is stumbling their way into an RKO finish.
Oh my God! No! KO out of nowhere!
But then, he made, in my opinion, what is a grave error of reverting to ad homs and calling her insane and crazy. If he had have kept that line of questioning and reasoning going and said, I was born on a cotton plantation, I worked my butt off to achieve X, Y, and Z in my life. And the reason why is because we live in a country that allows for social and economic mobility like no other. And I've never allowed my skin color to once hold me back, etc. Then it would have been game over. But then after that, I will say huge W with the shut up, boy.
Shut up, boy. She's speaking.
That kid's father should have told him that a long time ago. And then the tears start flowing. Unfortunately, she didn't have a safe space to run to. And in these liberal college environments, if you start to show emotion that you're triggered, that your feelings are hurt, then everybody has to get on their knees and pander to you. Well, not Vince.
Speak. Stand and speak. Speak. I'm doing it evidence and do it. You speak. Okay?
Man, who are you?
Yeah.
But the reason I think that these tears occur is because as a white liberal college student Your whole entire worldview is predicated upon the fact that white people are oppressors and that you are a champion of the oppressed. You are the savior, here to spread the word about white privilege and help the poor little black people. And to have a strong, self-assured black man standing in front of them, telling them, you are the problem, how dare you be so disrespectful and condescending, causes the liberal brain to just malfunction, and the tears start flowing. On to the next bit now.
I have a question.
I'm asking for a question because I'm here to take questions, not to be lectured. What is the question?
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. You mentioned you're a Christian.
Yes.
And that's informed your faith.
Yes.
You also mentioned that during the times of slavery, when 200,000 slaves escaped,
Yes.
they did that because they worked hard. They did that because they tried. And was your implication there that the rest could have been free had they tried hard enough?
Well, yes. If you either kill your master, you leave, you fight. The same way that what they did in Haiti. They've done it all over the country many, many times. I've seen people that even when they were free, they decided to go back into slavery. We're doing it now every day. People are choosing slavery every day of their life right now. Hell is a choice. Slavery is a choice. Freedom is a choice. And when you get that in your mind, you then can change your circumstances. So if you think you have no power over your circumstances, if you really believe that somebody else has control of your life and you can't change it, you're already beaten. It's done. Frederick Douglass escaped because he believed he was a free man. Nobody had a right to keep him enslaved. Harriet Tubman did the same. But the ones that said, the master has all control over me, I have no choice, they stayed because they were mentally beaten. And when you are mentally beaten, he has to do nothing else to you. You've already beaten yourself. So the ones that decided to be free, the ones that decided to risk death or killed for their freedom, yes, they made a decision.
You believe Jesus died for our sins?
Yes.
Why did Jesus walk willingly to the cross?
Man, because he wanted to.
So that was a huge layup opportunity for Vince there. And you can sense that he's frustrated, which is why he's giving the blunt answers. And honestly, that's understandable. And before I give this critique, I will say that it is very easy to be a Monday morning quarterback about these things. And it's a lot harder to be there in the moment. And I know this from experience, especially when you are talking to people who frankly don't give a shit about what you're saying and wouldn't understand it if you explained it to them. However, I will say that in that moment, there is a very strong answer to be given for Christians as to why Jesus went to the cross willingly. And it's an idea that comes up a lot in debates, and it's something that Christians should definitely be armed and dangerous with. And Vince would obviously know this, but the reason that Jesus went to the cross was for our salvation. You see, the problem of evil and suffering is something that has been disputed for thousands of years, and it often comes up in these debates. Atheists will say, well, if God is so great, then why did he create this world with so much evil and so much suffering? And along with the notion that human beings have free will and we turned our back on God, there's another strong point there to be made, which is that God doesn't just watch all of the evil and all of the suffering from above with sympathy. He actually came to earth in human flesh, walked among us, and suffered for us, where he was mercilessly lashed and tortured and then nailed to the cross, where he was then exposed to the elements and slowly died from exhaustion and suffocation. And at the same time, he's being mocked by the people killing him and the crowd around him, all whilst asking for forgiveness for those who were brutalizing him. Moreover, he was betrayed by his disciple Judas. And if you read Dante's Inferno or the Divine Comedy, the ninth circle of hell, which is the worst of the worst, is treachery or betrayal. And the worst kind of betrayal is betrayal against God. And anybody who's ever been truly betrayed by someone you loved or deeply trusted, then you'll know that gut-wrenching feeling, and you'll know why it is the ninth layer of hell. Now, just imagine that you're being sent to your death because that person that you love betrayed you for 30 pieces of silver. Moreover, not only was Jesus an innocent man, but he lived a sinless, perfect life. So he was the least deserving of his fate of all of us. And they let a depraved murderer walk free instead of him. And these are only some of the factors that make up the immense suffering that Jesus went through. And in spite of all of this, and even though he knew it was going to happen, and even though he could have stopped it at any moment, he instead willingly endured it. Why? To pay the price for our sins and offer the gift of salvation. So, needless to say, there is a very, very strong answer for that question. So, on to the next.
Hello, my name is Ben Bromwell. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Ellison. I'm a philosopher. As such, I'm concerned with the philosophical content of your speech. Now, I came here for a talk about white privilege.
Yes.
My first question, I have a couple of questions. They're very simple, very short. You can answer them with one sentence. So my first question is, can you define the term white privilege?
No, because it doesn't exist.
Then what have we been talking about this whole time?
That's a very good question, because it doesn't exist. It's like a unicorn or a leprechaun. It doesn't exist. It's all in your mind. It's a phantom.
Please, any question has to come through the line. Next question.
Okay, so if you can't define a term that you're talking about, then how can you be sure that when you talk about it to other people, they all understand the same concept, right? As a professional in communications, you can see that I'm sure you understand that you have to communicate your message in such a way that the people who receive the communication understand what you have in mind when you say it. So, as such, it seems like this method is not very functional, so...
No, what I was talking about was what I believe to be their definition of white supremacy, of something that did not exist. And so I'm telling you that what you're talking about, so you can have a definition in your mind that Vince Ellison can fly like a jet plane. You can have that. I'm going to convince you that I can't do that. What you're talking about is impossible. It doesn't exist. You can believe it. You can actually believe I'm Superman. I can lift this building up and fly with it. And I'm going to walk in here and convince you you're wrong about that. I can't do that. Your ideology of me does not exist. This is, and I know that to be true. I know that white privilege does not exist. Some of you believe that it does. I'm convincing you that it does not. I don't have to believe it to believe that you believe it, and I'm convincing you that what you believe is not true.
So can you sum up your main single philosophical point?
White privilege is a lie.
You just used the term you said didn't exist.
The term exists, but the actual thing does not exist. You can say fairies exist. They don't. The word fairy exists, but fairies don't. White supremacy is like a fairy. It is a word that conjures up an imagination.
Can you define white privilege?
Yes.
Can you define white privilege for us, quickly? That's not my main point. I just want to add that.
I think it is an imaginary term to give liberal white people a sense of superiority.
I think I need to specify.
A sense of inferiority.
I'm sorry. I think I need to specify. Can you define just the idea of white privilege, just like what they, in their own terms, the people who believe in white privilege believe?
I believe that white privilege is a term that gives white people a sense of inferiority and black people a sense of inferiority and acceptance in their failure.
So once again, got to say, not a great answer there by Vince. And as annoying as that guy's voice is.
You know what times of trouble call for? What? Being resourceful with what you have. I have a rain jacket, a sweater, and I also have a couple pairs of socks. So what I'm gonna do is make a bed out of my clothing.
It is a reasonable question because establishing definitions at the start of a debate is very important to ensure that you don't talk past each other. So if you're giving a speech on white privilege, you better be able to define it. Something like the notion that white people have systemic advantages that other people of other races don't have access to purely because of the color of their skin would be a good definition. And the definition that he gave there at the end actually wasn't a definition of the idea. He gave a correct analysis of the societal function of white privilege for those who believe it, but not a definition. And once again, not easy on the fly. It's difficult to define things on the spot because it requires quick thinking, and it actually requires you to have a pretty good understanding of the thing it is that you're talking about. You need to be able to provide a coherent definition, but also you need to be concise with the definition that you give in the context of the debate. Because if you say something like white privilege is the notion that white people have advantages over black people, then you open yourself up to being torn apart based on your definition by your opponents. Because they can then come back with all sorts of random examples of how white people technically have it better than black people. That's why you have to be specific with your definition and say systemic advantages that white people have that other races don't have access to, that is based purely on the color of your skin. That sort of a definition then gives you a safeguard from all the logical fallacies that are about to come. So a little bit technical, but necessary when it comes to these debates. On to the next.
Look, that was my main question, but so the U.S. Sentencing Commission. This is going on to my main point. The U.S. Sentencing Commission, a government agency, has uniformly published data recently that says that Black Americans receive 20% longer sentences than white Americans. Black Americans are denied bail 4% of the time, 4% more than white Americans. The fact that people treat you differently depending on your race is evidently clear, and I don't think you dispute that. So how can you explain those differences in sentencing lengths and in bail denial based on anything other than racial bias?
I come to find it has much more to do with money, class, and education. Because I live in a family with means. And we don't have those problems.
If I will, though, the common denominator there was race, not economic status.
You don't know that to be true.
That is.
You don't know that to be true. You don't know that to be true because you talked about race only. If you look at the economics and if you look at the income, you look at the educational status of the people also. It could be also education. Did you study the economics and the educational? Did you study those? Did you study those? Did you study those? No, you didn't. That's what you were looking for. That's what you were looking for. It's also economics. It can also be, you see, he ran like a coward like they all do. It's also economics. It's also education. It's also socioeconomic conditions also. Because I come from a black family, and we are a family of means and education, and we don't have those problems.
So big W there for Vince. This was just a prime example of a correlation-causation fallacy. Just because they are black and there is a disparity doesn't mean that the disparity is caused by them being black. Because obviously there are a lot of other factors involved here, some of which Vince named, namely economics, education, etc. So now on to the last one, which is definitely the worst of them all, because this entitled little brat just comes up and screams into the microphone. Whilst whoever is hosting, whoever is holding that microphone, does not have the testicular fortitude to just move her on and get to the next question. So they just pander to her little tantrum. And it is very, very annoying to listen to, but we will suffer it together.
Okay. So anyways, like I was saying, when you mentioned abortions, I wanted to understand why you said it in such a manner as if you have control over a woman's body of what to do, because in my personal belief and opinion, when it comes down to abortions, if a woman does not want to have a child, you cannot force her. That creates broken homes, one. You can't force someone who's been raped, sexually assaulted to have a child that they do not want. Are you going to be able to take care of that child, every person of color, of not? Are you going to be able to be there for that child and say, yeah, I forced your mother because of laws that are created by people like you wanted to force people to have something that they did not want? Please, I want to understand why you think abortions is not a choice that women should have anymore.
Yeah, you have control of your body. We just tell you not to, you can do what you want with it. Right. We just tell you what not to do with the baby's body. That's one. Number two, when you start talking about rape and all that and all that other stuff, if you happen to go home tonight and your mom makes a confession to you and tells you that your uncle had too much Jack Daniels one night and that he raped her and you were born, do you go home and blow your own brains out?
I'm not done.
Because you don't think that you're because of how you came into this world.
We
sorry?
have two other people waiting.
Okay, and I waited patiently, did I not?
We will leave the line in order for her to continue
Because that's
to
not
ask
nice.
her question.
I waited patiently for everybody else. You're going to tell me I cannot say more than one question?
We only have a scheduled amount of time left.
First of all, y'all was late, so I don't know what you're talking about. We was here early. Y'all were late. So if you want to get into timing, that's on you.
We were actually rushing them.
My second question is, when you said it was a privilege for us to be black, like you said every race, every ethnic is privileged to be what they are. I personally do not believe so, and I wanted to ask why you believe so, because even though I feel personally privileged to be black, people around me do not have that same thing. They do not have that same thinking. We do not all think the same. Because if I walk in front of a police officer right now and I pull out my phone, I am likely to get shot. So are you. So I want to understand just why you cannot see that. I know that you feel invincible, but you have to understand when police brutality comes, when the police comes in front of you, you are still a black man.
No, man, I don't have those experiences because of how I carry my, it's a human element. how I carry myself and how I deal with people. I'm a respectful man. I don't have any problems like that.
One last question. I just don't understand why he's silencing me when I waited patiently. Like, that's very rude.
But I do think that Black Lives Matter and a lot of these black leaders are teaching young black men how to get shot by being disrespectful, being mean, being hoodlum-like, and it's just a bad thing that happens out there. Me, as I said before, I'm 61 years old. I don't have a problem with police, never have. And it's not because I walk around afraid of them at all. If there's a human element involved, I treat them with respect, they treat me with respect. We end up being friends most of the time. And again, I've learned that if you treat men with respectfully, they'll treat you the same way in return. Now, every now and again, you're gonna find a fool out there. You will find him. And he's gonna be a racist, he's gonna be ignorant. But this is why I'm always amazed that people don't wanna be armed, they wanna give their guns up. I mean, you say that the police are chasing you, and what's your solution to the problem? Give your guns up. Why don't you just blow your own brains out? I think if the police are chasing me, I'd want more guns. So I don't have a problem with police. If I thought I had one, I'd be armed so that I could defend myself.
All right. It's time for the last question of the night. It's not you. You're done.
Sir, who are you talking?
We have one last question.
Yo, can I ask my last question? Relax, fam. Anyways, like I was saying, my last question, when it comes on to slavery being a choice, I don't really understand how that's a choice because we fought so hard. The same God you're talking about, my people had to pray to for us to be able to get free. The same people that you're talking about was a choice. I don't think we could have gathered everybody to believe, let's fight against our master and be free this exact instant. Because if that was the case, you don't think we all would have fought for freedom? Nobody willingly picked cotton out of the floor, wanted to live this life that I now have to suffer because of a generational curse. I just can't understand how that's a choice. I do not have the choice here to be right now, to be degraded for generations. I don't think that's a choice. Me being here right now in this PWI is a privilege. Why? Because I worked my ass off to get here. So I want you to understand that, and I want my people to get recognition because everything they did, we deserve. We prayed to God, the same God you're talking about. I'm a Christian too. I remember praying to. I pray for my people. My ancestors prayed for me to get here. So I want that to be acknowledged. Thank you.
What I would advise is that you start thinking like a slave then, and start thinking more like a Christian.
No. I'm not thinking like a slave. I'm saying I'm acknowledging, I'm grateful for my ancestors that have fought long and hard for me to be here. That's not thinking like a slave. What they have done in the past, I cannot do anything about it but thank them that I am here now to sit in front of the bus, to eat anywhere I'd like, to do anything I want, and sit my ass in this seat right here to attend this PWI.
I'm so happy that you feel good about yourself and that you're making white people like you. But that's not my concern. My concern is loving myself, making sure that I love them. If they like me or not is irrelevant. I'm not here to prove a point to them or anyone else. I prove a point to my God. We spend too much time being concerned about how other people view us. And if they don't like us, we feel bad about ourselves. Our past is our past. Nobody's past is perfect. There were people that did you wrong in your past, people that did you right in your past, but they're always individuals. There are individuals that helped you, white and black, individuals that hurt you, white and black. We look at the individual. We deal with the individual. I don't believe in collective punishment. I don't believe in collective misery. I believe that I'm going to have white people that treat me well, Asian people that treat me well, Jewish people that treat me well, and then those same individuals will be on the other side who treat me badly. I will deal with every man based upon his character. And to me, I think that's proper.
So there we have the problem with the modern liberal college student, guys. Absolutely no humility, zero respect for anybody but themselves, and a sense of entitlement and victimhood that is just unbearable to listen to. So, guys, hope you did enjoy the video despite all of that. If you guys would like to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, that'd be greatly appreciated. You can find my links below. And if you'd like to watch another one, right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous.